The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
We interrupt this off-season hiatus to bring you a special summer megasode, in-studio summer megasode of the Talkin' Buds, the Leaf Show. Our entire mantra throughout the off-season has been, when there's actual real news to discuss, we will be back here to discuss it. We're a little later than we would have liked to have been. That is my fault. I was away on vacation. I'm back. We're ready to get... Ryan is leaving on vacation tomorrow, but made the time to be in here to talk about this. We got tons of stuff to talk about. You and I chit-chatting before we hit record here about how unhinged this fan base is currently about every single thing this team does. There are like insane takes from all aspects. It's wild. One of the things that I also take a break from when the Leafs are in the offseason is social media, and checking back in on it over the weekend, that's the right decision because it's wild.
Yep, just takes flying everywhere about every little thing about this team, and it's just, let's get into it, buddy.
My favorite is that how many people, most of these people before last week at the draft had never heard the two words Easton Cowan. But as soon as the Leafs drafted him, they knew everything there was to know about Easton Cowan and why it was an absolutely terrible draft.
Why'd they get a player like this? Shut up.
I know. It's ridiculous.
That is the theme of this offseason for me, for fans. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you. It's so... People are just insane when it comes to everything this team does. And it's like, we're still kind of early in the offseason. Like, are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? Like, go on vacation. Go lay on a beach somewhere. Relax. We've got all next season to talk and debate about this. All right, so free agency's come and gone. A lot of guys left. A bunch of new guys have come in. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to go through the list of every guy that left and every guy that they've signed and re-signed. I'm just going to say the names, and then you and I are going to discuss them, and we're just going to kind of roll through the list. You ready to go?
Let's go.
Ryan O'Reilly signs a 4-year, $4.25 million AAV deal with the Nashville Predators. Your thoughts on this? It was reported that the Leafs tried to keep him. He decided that he would rather take his talents to Nashville. Tree Living made kind of a weird comment in his like free agency press conference about how being a Toronto Maple Leaf and like the spotlight of that isn't for everyone and not every guy loves that. There was also a bunch of rumors and Twitter scuttlebutt about him feeling like it was a bad dressing room or a quiet dressing room. But at the end of the day, O'Reilly goes to Nashville.
Yeah, I thought the comments were a little odd. I mean, I didn't really understand them, to be honest with you. But, I mean, we praised that acquisition. But at the end of the day, after what I saw, even though obviously the guy is a beauty and you'd like to have a character like guy like that on your team, but to me, you cannot have him and John Tavares on the same team, playing the same position on line 2 and line 3. They are just too similar. One's better defensively, one's better offensively, but they both have one thing in common. They can't skate. So, I mean, I think Ryan O'Reilly's a great hockey player. I really like the guy. I'm not going to sit here and speculate about... We all know all the rumors about the room and the culture around this team. There's no need to... This isn't a new discussion for us. But, I mean, whatever. Like, just, I didn't think he was the best fit for them anyways. I think him and John, they're too similar. They both don't have very good wheels, and they're going to need somebody who could skate on that third-line center ice position.
Noel Acciari follows Kyle Dubas to Pittsburgh. 3 years, $2 million. I mean, I'm sure that's a deal the Leafs would have liked to have given him, but he decided to take his talents to Pittsburgh, and that's that.
Dime a dozen.
Yeah, I liked him. I liked him a lot. He's a great bottom six player, but whatever, just didn't work out.
Yeah, not gonna miss him too much.
Luke Schenn, 3 years, $2.75 million, also with the Nashville Predators. This has been reported by all the pundits that the Leafs tried hard to keep Luke Schenn, but they weren't going to give him a 3-year deal at 2.75. So it just kind of is what it is.
Had to take his money, wasn't going to lose sleep over it. Let's just say that. Obviously, great playoff performance, but over the span of 82, and just like, are we really going to just cry about? This team has way bigger problems than figuring out its 5th or 6th defenseman. So they got to be looking at fixing 1, 2, 3, and 4 before they fix 5 and 6.
Okay, here's where it gets fun. Justin Holl, 3 years, $3.4 million with the Detroit Red Wings.
I always thought very highly of Steve Yzerman as a general manager. Until I saw this deal. What are you doing? This guy sucks.
Yeah, he does.
So bad, man. I'm so like.
But you know what? Of all of the ex-Leafs that are now gone, this was not the most egregious contract that was handed out, but it's still pretty bad.
The last 3 names. I mean, like I'd say one of those names, whatever. But like, this is one of 2 names where like I was ready to throw a going away, but like, see you later, man.
You were ready to drive him to the
happier.
airport. You'll drive him to the Little Caesars Arena.
I couldn't be happier that contract. See you later, buddy.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Thank God.
It's a puzzling signing for sure. I think teams, if you've never seen Justin Holl play hockey, you look at his physical attributes. Like, he's a big guy, can kill penalties, can play in your top 4. But it's like, if you watch him shift to shift, this
guy literally got his face beat in by Ryan Nugent Hopkins.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. He didn't just lose that fight. He got his ass handed to him by Ryan Nugent Hopkins.
And then Corey Perry filled him in the playoffs, too. See you later. There's one guy where just goodbye.
Alex Kerfoot.
Oh.
2 years, $3.5 million for the Arizona Coyotes. Listen, I don't want to. Alex Kerfoot seems like a really nice human being. Sheldon Keefe spoke repeatedly about how beloved he was in the room and how they all loved him, and I totally believe that. But I'm pretty happy that I never have to watch another Alex Kerfoot go out there and skate around and achieve absolutely nothing shift of hockey for the rest of my Toronto Maple Leaf fandom life.
Yeah. When I saw Alex Kerfoot sign somewhere else, I just did this. Opened up a can of beer and just, for you on audio, I'm sorry, but cheers.
See, Alex.
Goodbye. Let's make me want to double fist. I was so happy.
I saw a lot of ridiculous contracts handed out on free agency day. It's always the case. There's always guys who get the bag where it's like, really? You're paying that? I'm sorry. In my personal opinion, Mike Bunting for 3 years at $4.5 million in Carolina is one of, if not the worst deals. And Mike Bunting is nowhere close to a $4.5 million hockey player.
You know what? I don't really agree with you. Like, I don't think it's that egregious, to be honest with you.
I would not give him $4.5 million.
Here's a guy who was an absolute nobody, and Kyle Dubas just found him out of the blue, came in, it went a little sour at the end, year 2, but I'd say for 85% of his career with the Maple Leafs, he got dropped in a top line role where he proved that he could score goals. Like, back-to-back years with 23 goals. First year, 63 points. Second year, 49. He's always been a plus player. He's kind of a dick. Like, you know what? I actually don't think
$4.5 million.
I know.
Like if they paid him like,
well, like that's what
if they paid him like 2.5, 3. Like, if he got,
yeah, but that's like what the going rate is for a guy who can play with top players and contribute offensively. Like,
yeah, I
think that Justin Holl should be making league minimum, for God's sakes. Like, at least this guy is proven that you can drop him in with top players and he's not going to be a complete loser.
Well, that's another thing. The Carolina fit is weird to me because Carolina's a team that struggled to score goals. It's like Michael Bunting is not going to go out there and Michael Bunting scored goals because he was playing with Auston Matthews.
And maybe they were looking for a little bit of bite too. Like, you look what the Leafs have done. Maybe Carolina was doing the same thing. They're like, we kind of like how this guy's a bit of a dink, like on the ice. Like maybe they need that type of guy who can stir it up. I found it weird that he went to Carolina. That's what I said. That's
what I mean. The
yeah, not even just like
fit
the
is strange.
It's just like Carolina. Like, really? Like, I don't know. Okay. You know what? I will say though, like I coming on here and shit talking Mike Bunting, I think is not the right thing to do. I think for the most part in his 2 years as a Maple Leaf, he was a pretty good player and he contributed and he scored some goals and he always gave his best effort. He was always in it. I really don't have a lot of bad things to say about Michael Bunting other than by the end with the whole referee situation, it got a little sour. But overall, I thought he had a pretty good 2 years.
I've got nothing against the guy personally. I just don't think he's a $4.5 million hockey player.
Fair enough.
That's just how I feel. Okay, let's get into the fun part. All the new guys, the new look Maple Leafs. The names on this list sent Leaf Twitter into just spiral territory. By the end of July 1st, it was fire Brad Treliving. It was wild. So let's get into it. Let's go chronologically. They re-signed David Kampf just ahead of free agency. 4 years, $2.4 million. Your thoughts on that? Is that a lot to pay a guy who is essentially, I guess he's the third line center now?
Yeah, like I mean, I don't. David Kampf is just one of those guys where like I don't like some nights I really like him and some nights it's kind of like whatever. Like, you know, but all I know is he's a good penalty killer.
He's a utility
apparently
player.
A guy. He's in amazing shape. You see, like I don't know. Like I think he's a pretty good little hockey player. Like a 2 point. Like come on. Like are we when did 2.4 become 5.5? Like if anything, this free agency overall, like I think the numbers are lower than what they usually are. Like to me, like if it was David Kampf 3.5, I'd be like, all right, like what the hell's going on here? But it's like. We're really gonna cry over 2.4? Like I don't know. Like they seem to like him, and like he hasn't really given you a reason not to like him. I don't know. Like I don't mind him as a player. He's a reliable guy. Like would I like to be a little more physical? Like maybe, but overall he plays some role.
Yeah, he's your classic utility player.
Like when have you ever been like? I don't know. It just that came down to I'm gonna trust the organization that they just really like this guy and they wanted to lock him up, but he's still. Only 28. He's not an old guy, so that brings him to his early 30s here. Like whatever. Like you want to give David Kampf another go? Give David Kampf another go. On my list of guys I can't stand, he's not at the top. Yep. So it's whatever.
That's a very level-headed take, Ryan.
Yeah.
What wasn't level-headed was the reaction to one of the first signings that came out on free agency day. Ryan Reaves signs a 3-year, $1.35 million deal with the Maple Leafs.
Oh
man. So many thoughts around this signing. I think the naysayers who didn't like it were upset at the 3-year term and the 1.35, given his age, and the 1.35 for a guy who may or may not play in the playoffs. The other side of that coin is you cannot deny that the toughest guy in the National Hockey League is now wearing a Toronto Maple Leaf uniform in a division that just had Milan Lucic come back to it and Tanner Jeannot with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Though Lucic and Jeannot are two heavyweights in this league, and even those guys will think twice before they want to drop the gloves with Ryan Reaves.
Yeah.
So this is like a culture dressing room altering. Like we talked earlier when we were discussing Ryan O'Reilly about the dressing room and everything that has been said about the dressing room. They targeted a very specific personality type with 3 of these signings, and it was to alter the DNA or chemistry or vibe in the room, if you will. So your thoughts on Ryan Reaves?
There's a lot to unpack about this signing because this is where like the crying began. Like this is where this was a big cry fest. And I you know what? I actually understand the part of him like not playing in the playoffs. Like, okay, like I can kind of see that. Like, were we signing the greatest hockey player ever here? No. Okay. But like I'm not one crying about 1.35 for 3 years. It's like, how many times has this guy been moved around the league? Because at one point or another, every team wanted exactly what Brad Treliving wanted when they got this guy. It's like, here's the undisputed toughest guy in the league. Like, you want to bring him in for the exact reason that you just named right there. And it's like, oh, I don't like the 3 years. I don't like the 3 years. It's 1.3. Shut up. Like, that is so dumb. Here's what I know, and I don't know if this is weird saying this. You just signed a guy who's walking into your dressing room who immediately has the biggest dick in the room.
Yeah, he did.
100%. Who's literally going to make every single guy, like everyone's going to walk by him. Like, you know, like everyone's going to like talk about him and like, he's going to be like, oh my God, there's Ryan. Like, you know, like, and you heard him with this interview where he's like, oh, I like to plan the parties and I like to drag everybody out. It's like, you know what? I'm straight old guy on this take. I love it. Like, why not bring in the guy who's known as the toughest guy in the league? What's the worst that it could do?
True.
You're going to cry over 3 years? Like, whatever, man.
It's also a contract that if in the last couple of years, like year and a half, he can go play for the Marlies. It's not a...
Or like some other team would probably want him again because guess what? The guy's a badass. Yeah. Like, you know, and... like, whatever. Like, I'm just straight old guy. And and if you really kind of like connect the dots here, if what Ryan O'Reilly was really, he really said that and they were kind of alluding to that, this is exactly the guy you pick up and you drop in to fix that room. Because I don't care if he's a fourth liner. Nobody's fucking with this guy. Like, I promise you that.
Nobody. Next signing, this was another one that everyone was really puzzled, myself included. John Klingberg, 1 year, $4.15 million. John Klingberg was statistically the worst defenseman in the National Hockey League last year. He is an all-offensive defenseman. They're hoping that when they bring him in, they can get the version of Klingberg that played in Dallas as opposed to the version that played in Anaheim. The Anaheim Ducks, in fairness, were an awful hockey team last year.
Terrible.
So this is just another sort of offensive guy that I'm thinking that I think that they could see maybe quarterbacking power play 2 and just, I don't know, like depth on defense, although they're paying him $4.15 million. So it's like not really a guy that you're going to have at like 7th, 6th, 7 who's like rotating in and out every night.
Yeah. I mean, to me, this is just like, they clearly couldn't get somebody they actually wanted. Well,
apparently they were in on Matthew Dumba.
Yeah.
And they couldn't make it happen.
And you know what? So they saw a name that once had success. And like, whatever. Like, I agree with what everybody says. Like, it really doesn't make that much sense. All I know is the guy can actually move his feet and skate. And I think that's what they were lacking a little bit. But it's, again, like, it's a 1 year deal. I honestly, like, what I'm noticing so far is like I'm actually sticking up for Treliving a lot.
Yes,
like early on.
Listen,
I really am.
I would say that this podcast is going to be largely pro Brad Treliving.
Yeah, like I'm really sticking up for this guy. Like I don't know why. I just feel the need to. It's just what's the harm in a 1 year deal? Like really, like. Wouldn't it be cool? Like to me, wouldn't it be cool if like every team just signed a bunch of like 1 year deals for guys? Yeah. Like. Guy's been terrible for years, and he once had a really solid reputation and was a highly touted guy. Like, what if he just returned to that? That'd be amazing. But if he doesn't, then next year, see you later. Yeah. Like, at least we're not. Like, if it was 4.15 and you were looking at cap friendly and you saw 4 more years added onto that, I'd be like, okay, what the hell is going on here? But whatever. It's a 1 year deal. We'll see what happens. People might be right. People might be wrong. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on the player. I haven't seen him play enough, but. At least it's 1 year.
Without question, my favorite signing of the bunch. Tyler Bertuzzi, 1 year, $5.5 million. This is the exact type of hockey player that this team has been searching for years. This guy's an upgrade on Mike Bunting. You can put him on the wing with Matthews and Marner, and he's a skilled forward that can score you some goals, that isn't allergic to a scrum, that is going to get in there and play with an edge to him. Like, again, with the theme of the guys they've signed, they all play with an edge. Snot, as Brad Treliving put it.
Yeah.
We need a little more snot to our game. And this is the exact kind of guy that they have looked for their top six. For how many years have you heard someone say, man, wouldn't it be great if they could get a guy like Tyler Bertuzzi to play in their top six? This is without question my favorite of the guys they signed. I think I jumped up and did a fist pump when I saw that they signed this guy.
And he's got the same birthday, and he's born the same year, and he's the exact same birthday as me. So I mean, guy's got to be a legend, you know. So yeah, like I mean, exactly. It's like this guy has a reputation of playing a certain way, and he's also has a reputation that he can play on a top six and contribute. So
you also got to love
giddy up.
I also love how he just told the Bruins. Game of time with the Leafs.
Like
love
giddy
that.
up. And I think like what Friedman said on 32 Thoughts was very smart. It's like, if you want to go somewhere, like put the playoff success aside. Like, look at Mike Bunting. Mike Bunting is the proof of this. Like, you go to Toronto.
Luke Schenn too.
Yeah, you go to Toronto, you get plugged into that top six, you go play with Mitch or Austin or somebody, and like you're gonna have your opportunity to look very good in the regular season. And that could lead to your next big payday, either with the Leafs or with elsewhere. So, like, yeah, I mean, I haven't listened to too many nerd takes about this one, but it seems like all like the old school, like hockey guys and all the old players, no one had a bad thing to say about this.
No, I was
again, 1-year deal too. It's like, what? How can you cry about a 1-year deal? Like,
I was sitting relaxing on vacation and jumped out of my chair and did a fist pump. When I saw this.
How could you cry about a 1-year deal? Like, who cares? Like, this is what you said earlier is exactly it. It's like, how many times have you watched Bertuzzi and you're like, God, I wish this guy was a Leaf.
Yes,
you know? Like,
he's
somebody
exactly
like that.
one of those guys that plays with piss and vinegar.
Yeah,
and you're just always like, that's the kind of guy they need. That's the type of player.
Yeah, love it.
I got another one of those guys too, because the prodigal son, the literal prodigal son, is returning to the city in which his father is a living legend. Max Domi signs a 1-year, $3 million deal with the Maple Leafs. Another signing I really, really love. You referenced Friedman on 32 Thoughts talking about how he wants this. He's coming in here highly motivated to remain a Toronto Maple Leaf for a really long time. I think the fan base is going to fall in love with this kid. I think it's just... There's a lot of potential here for a nice story and for this guy to have a good season. And I said Bertuzzi is an upgrade on Bunting, and I think Domi is an upgrade on Kerfoot.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'll say about him is I hope he doesn't get here and he just tries to be David Clarkson off the bat and like does a little too much to
100%. And that's why
like
when
that,
people...
that would be the one thing I'd say about him. I could see him being that type of guy where like he's so amped. Like, he has all the makings to be just like an absolute fan favorite. Like, I don't think he's like a dominant player. Like, look at the team. He's played for every half the league.
No, but
like,
he's another guy. He's another guy though that comes with who you can play in your bottom six and sometimes maybe move up to your top six. That plays with snot, as Brad Treliving said.
I mean, that's the number one thing is we know this guy can be a prick, which is very nice. I think he kind of has the potential, like big goal potential. I don't think he's going to be getting 80 points or anything. It'd be interesting to see where they play him, but I just hope that he comes in and he doesn't try to do too much right off the bat and does something stupid.
Well, I was listening to Kiprios on the Fan Morning Show this morning, and they were discussing that, and he said, maybe early in his career that might have been a bit of a bigger concern, but now that he's been in the league a while and has like kind of been around the block and played for all these teams, that's why when people online were saying he should wear number 28, it's like no, he's wearing number 11, great number, and that's on Treliving and that's on Sheldon Keefe to sit him down and go, you're not your dad. Like, you're Max. You're not Ty.
Yeah.
Go out and play Max's
You can actually
game.
contribute more offensively than your dad. You're not going to be as tough as your dad, but you could be a prick.
Let Ryan Reaves worry about filling the role that your dad filled, and then you can
You can drop the mitts with some moke who you can take.
Yeah.
You know, like
you can drop the mitts with Ryan Nugent Hopkins.
Yeah, no. Ryan Nugent Hopkins will be walking away from that. You can drop the gloves with, I don't even know, but it's somebody. But I mean, if you look at him, Bertuzzi, bro, they're both 28 years old. Like, they're both kind of older. Like, they're not in their 30s yet, but they're kind of older dudes in their later 20s.
Both dudes who have kind of been in the league for a while, who are coming in here, who are excited to be here with something to prove.
And you can, dude.
And if
one thing you know about this team, like, if you're a player looking to cash, which I know Max wants to be with the Leafs long term, but like, one thing we know about this team is they can sure look like the goats in the regular season, baby.
Oh yeah,
Hey?
It's,
Woo!
and it's like it's just very clear.
Little through the legs, a little toe drag. Hey, we look like legends of the regular. Hey?
I tweeted this, and some guy got mad at me because it was one of these guys who you can't say anything negative about the Leafs ever, some idiot. But you cannot look at Reaves, Bertuzzi, and Domi and tell me that there wasn't a specific choice here and there wasn't a discussion had about the core guys in this room and how soft they are when the going gets tough, and to bring in guys who are going to push back and make it a little harder and try and open up some space, one, for these guys to move, and also to get them a little more motivated. It's clear as day. And if you are denying that, go talk to a professional, because you're just in denial about reality in life. Like, I'm sorry.
I love every second of it too. I love the more we're talking about it, the more I'm excited about it.
And
absolutely.
And I thought Brian Hayes made an awesome point where he said, you know, like, when the season ended last year, we all sat and thought about sitting through another 82, and we're like, oh my God, they've brought in some exciting guys here. So now you're excited to get regular season get going, because you're like, all right, I want to see where Matt's Domi fixed. I want to see what Tyler Bertuzzi can do. I want to see Ryan Reaves and Tanner Jeannot the first time the Leafs play the Lightning.
Yeah.
Set the tone.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see it.
Honestly, you know what guy I always forget about?
Who?
Matthew Nyes.
There's
a guy in this lineup.
Another full-time guy.
There's a guy in this lineup who I honestly, like, when I'm thinking about the lineup, I for some reason, it just goes over my head. I just don't think about it. But, like, there's another guy you can plug. Like, honestly, like, I'm looking at the roster right now. I think they're way better. Like,
no, hold on. You're looking at their forwards.
Whoa. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
But
they still got, like, if we're looking at moves,
like, they're a forward group. Like, maybe we're just old guys and we're just buying into this hype way too much. But it's just, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just name value. Like, I don't know. But they look better to me. I'm sorry. Or what Hayes said, they look more exciting to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, but you look at, like, if you scroll down and you look at their defense, it's very clear.
Crap.
Yeah, yes, it's very
garbage.
You're not winning a Stanley Cup with that defense.
No.
Core. So they still have a lot of work to do. They got to find a way to get to move Matt Murray's money out. I actually saw something on Twitter today from I can't remember who it was from, but basically was saying that they would consider adding Nick Robertson in as a sweetener for somebody to take Matt Murray's contract. Which shows you what they think of Nick Robertson.
Yeah, good. Like, why do they need Nick Robertson? Like, I know the guy's got some talent, but, like, the guy literally got rocked last year and he was done because he's 5'2". Like, I don't know. Yeah, the whole Matt Murray thing is just like, I don't even know what you do with that.
Ideally, you move out Murray, and you. Although I saw today Samsonov's going to arbitration, so if you can get Samsonov signed to a good deal and you can go with him and Wall, I think that's fine. I think Adin Hill winning a Stanley Cup changed everything for everyone when it comes to, like, going out and getting a marquee. Like, I don't think people are super interested in signing Connor Hellebuck to, like, a $9-10 million deal now.
Like, even though the Islanders did sign Sorokin to, I think it was like an 8.2.
Yeah, the Islanders also signed Pierre Engvall to a 7-year deal. It's Somebody needs to go check on Lou.
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
You are in a tough spot when you do have a really special goaltender in your organization and he's about to leave. Like that is I would have a really hard time with that as well if I was a general manager. Like Hellebuck wants out, so that's different. But like the Islanders have Sorokin. The guy's an absolute stud. Like what do you do? Let him walk? Like
well, and I just said
what are you
Adin Hill.
Do?
I just said, Adin Hill changes everything. But did you see the 6 defensemen in front of Adin Hill? You saw them in person.
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, just big boys who know how to get the puck out.
Yes.
Like,
that's their next
course. Sucks.
yeah. It's not good. It's not good.
It doesn't. That's maybe a little too harsh. It's just like you're not winning a Stanley Cup with these guys. I'm sorry. No. Like, I don't know what you do. Like, all I know is if you're making a big trade for any of with your top forwards, you better be getting a defenseman. I'm sorry. Like they need help back there. Like you're looking at Connor Timmins.
Yeah, I know.
Playing big ice time.
I know.
Like Mark Giordano, love the guy, but like
I know
guy's like 80 years old.
Yeah.
Like he's got McCabe here for another 2. Like like Brody. Really want that UFA to be in 2023. I want him gone.
Well, there's been people have been his name has been bandied about in like trade discussion. Like, because remember, I don't think Tree Living loves him.
No,
Tree Living. Yeah, I don't think Brad Tree Living. Not that he said anything like that. It's just Tree Living gets here and immediately you're seeing people talking about Brody potentially being dealt.
Well, he let him walk in Calgary.
Yeah.
I think that's the main reason. Big Muzzin doing.
Well, he'll be on LT. I could see a scenario where some team they trade him his contract to somebody just for cap relief because his career's over, unfortunately.
All right, give me where are we at here? Where are we at?
No. We're shifting gears now to the biggest storyline in Leaf Nation right now. William Nylander wants $10 million. The Leafs want to give him 8.5. There's a whole holistic view around this conversation. And before I say it, I need to sit here and I need to hold up my hand and say, I, Rob Furnish, sat here beside you all year. And I was for Kyle Dubas and was like, let's re-sign him. I don't think we should move on from him and all that. And you know what? I'm not saying I've 180'd on Kyle Dubas, but since he's left, it's sort of opened up a bigger picture of sort of what he left behind. And this situation with William Nylander is a huge part of it. Like Brad Treliving now needs to step in, and this is so important for Brad Treliving. He needs to step in and undo the culture of paying these guys whatever the hell they ask for that Kyle Dubas set. And I feel bad that it's Willie.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, all things being equal, it would be Mitch Marner who I'd be shipping out of town, but I don't think that's going to happen. So it's going to come down to Willie, and I don't think Matthews is getting done till the Willie thing is so interesting, and I empathize with the guy, and I feel bad for him because he's sitting there going, "Wait a minute, I'm. Have you seen the way Mitch Marner has played in the playoffs in the last 2 years and the way I've played? Have you seen? I had a 40-goal year last year. And you want me to take less so Matthews can turn around and sign a $13.5 million contract? Screw that. So this is a tough one for Treliving, but it's so important here that the Leafs do not cave to these guys' demands, because this is what's the word I'm looking for? The culture that Kyle Dubas created of bending over and giving these guys everything they want. And you can't do that anymore. That cannot happen here anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame William Nylander at all for any position he's taking on the money he thinks he should be getting. Like it's not anybody's fault other than Kyle Dubas's, in my opinion. Like I totally agree with William Nylander. Like, why am I taking 8.5 if those moves in front of me are making way more than I am? Like, I'm just as good as Mitch Marner. I may not play the PK, but other than that, like,
I would just
I was your best player for probably I don't know, like 60 games last year. Like, what do you like? Are you kidding me? Like, why would I take less than these guys? It's ridiculous.
If I'm Louis Gross, I'm walking into the negotiation with Shanny and Tree Living and sitting down and just playing game tape of William Nylander shifts versus Mitch Marner shifts in the last 2 playoff years and going, tell me who the more impactful hockey player was. I'll wait. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah, I know.
It's that simple.
But at the same time, again, what you said, like,
this is the mess
point,
that Mr. President of Hockey Ops in Pittsburgh has left behind.
But at one point, this has got to. You can't have all these guys making this much money, and it sucks how Willie's up first. Like, like I think whoever was up first kind of had to face the music. But like the way I'm looking at it right now is they got to move this guy. Yeah. Like I don't want them to move him. I as someone who's been on this podcast has ripped this guy nonstop. I thought last year he was their best player for most of the year. And I saw real maturity in him, and he's a great hockey player, and I'd like to keep him around, to be honest with you.
And all things being equal, I would move Mitch Marner. I think you feel the same way.
I mean, I think regular season wise, like I do think Marner's more valuable, but like Mitch Marner is a complete lost cause in the playoffs. Like we know that for sure. So that's got to mean something at some point. But it's just. I feel really bad for William Nylander, and I in the position that Tree Living is in is really challenging. But it's like you can't, like, what are you gonna have all these guys making $10 million? And Willie's in a tough spot too, because who the hell else is gonna pay him $10 million? Yeah. But since we're in this bubble and everyone's making this much money, and so I don't blame him for being like, I want 10. Like,
but if you're William, if I'm him, I'm just looking at these guys and saying, okay, no problem. I will play the last year of my deal. And I'll go to UFA next year, and there'll be a bidding war for my services.
But it will not be $10 million. That's the thing. It's like nobody's signing him for $10 million. Like, I'm sorry. Like that's the worst part about it.
What do you think he would get on the open market? 9.5, 9?
Like, what team's paying?
What would you give him? Like, if you're Brad Tree Living, like if I'm Brad Tree Living, I'm sitting across the table and I'll say, Willie, 6-7 years at $9 million.
I don't know, man. Like it's really this team really, I think like what he's provided, he is almost like worth it. But in a way, like you look at the way this team is structured, I think it's murder how John Tavares makes as much as he makes. But like this team really needs to be balanced out, man. Like they really need to be balanced out.
That's
like
a huge
I like William Nylander a lot, and or either it's Nylander or Marner, but at the same time, it's like I think just in the end, one of these guys has to go, no matter how highly I think of them, because like they just need a better decor, man. They need to fill in some more roles and use that money to. They need to get 2 players who both play 2 different roles, who can plug into 2 different parts of your lineup, who are going to provide 2 different things that you don't have right now.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like, I don't, like, do you really need another guy out there toe dragging? Like, we already have enough of those guys, you know? Like, I know it's going to be very hard to replace 40 goals, but, like, you'll find it. Like, I feel like you'll find it eventually. Maybe if you take those 40 goals and you make your decor better, like you can prevent more goals. Like you don't need it as much. Like I just think that in the end, like you really want that Tavares deal to expire, but they just really need to allocate some money into other places that are going to make them a better hockey team.
When you look at their cap, every time I look at their cap friendly, I just see that 11 beside John Tavares' name, and I'm just like, oh.
Like you need to have 2. I don't mind having 2 guys at the top making all the cake. But then, like, those 2 of those guys can't be making that money. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you just can't.
Yeah.
Like, you need to make your lineup more balanced.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and I feel bad for Willie. He's been a great hockey player, and I think based on what other guys are getting paid, like, I don't blame him at all for doing this. But I just think at one point, one of these guys has to go out the door.
If you look at his league comparables, you're looking at the deal that Pierre-Luc Dubois just signed with the LA Kings. That's what you're looking at. But the problem is because of this culture and hierarchy that Kyle Dubas set up here, he's not looking at Pierre-Luc Dubois. He's looking at Mitch Marner, and he's going, that's who I compare myself to. I don't care what what everyone in the rest of the league's doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like
as he should. He should.
Yes, and this is the problem with what Kyle Dubas did.
Yeah, as he should.
Yes.
Like, I don't blame him at all. He should be doing that because it's stupid. But it's just that's the way it is.
What do you think Auston Matthews is going to sign for?
I don't know.
I could see.
I think anything over 13 and a half, like, that's a joke.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like, I'm sorry. Like, McKinnon took a little bit more than McDavid.
To me,
like, if you're touching 14 here, like, come on.
Well, it's clear if that's what he wants. It's clear what his motivation is to get the bag, not to like do what's best for the team. Like, you can still sign a deal that's a little richer than Nate McKinnon's for 3 years.
You really need more than 13. Like, you really need more than that. Like, to me, if, like, you want 13, then you better be signing for, like, I don't know. Like, if he's a smart guy, so he's not going to sign an 8-year deal here. I'll be shocked if it's anything more than 6. That's the way I look at it. But it's like, you really need more than 13, man. Like, you hit 13, you're higher paid than McDavid and McKinnon. You made your point, man. Like, you really need more than that. Like, it's just like that's at some point, again, like what I just said about those two players. It's a hard cap system. Like, you can't be eating that much money, man. Like, we know you're a great player and you're going to get paid like you're the best player in the league, basically.
Yes.
Why do you need more than 13? Like, I'm sorry. Like,
I think that's a great point.
You're making a good living, man. I know you got to get your bread. It's a short career. The guy could go out and hurt himself and his career is over.
Yeah,
like, you know,
guess
but
what? Yes, that's true. And you don't want to see that happen.
Like, I get the selfish side of it in a way, but at the same time, it's like,
you're right. At a certain point in a handy,
more than 13.
Yeah, at a certain point in a hard cap system, you're handicapping your own team.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, it shows that your motivation is to get the bag, not to get paid, but also help your team.
Guess what? Nathan McKinnon won a Stanley Cup.
Yes,
like,
I know.
You know,
I know.
And showed up.
He didn't have a great regular season last year.
No.
Like, I know he was dealing with injuries, but he did. Like, William Nylander has more ammo based on last season to go in there and be like, I deserve a legit pay increase here than I think Auston Matthews does. But Auston Matthews will get it because he's a former Hart Trophy winner. And he's considered one of the best players in the world.
Yeah, he's the face of the franchise.
Yes.
Which I get. Like,
they don't want to lose him. And this is the last thing I wanted to touch on here because this will be our last episode until one of these guys signs or they make a major trade or something like that. It's very clear since Brad Treliving has come in that Brendan Shanahan's motivation is to keep this team in a similar type place as they have been, which is at the top of the standings in the regular season and then roll the dice in the playoffs. It's very clear that being a part of the greater Maple Leaf sports and entertainment conglomerate, the priority is to ensure that this team is a top-tier regular season team, and then we'll see what happens in the playoffs. It's very, very, very clear that that's the case. And while I do find certain elements of that frustrating, I get it. And I think that they're scared to go back to the like, how many years did we watch this team where they were all and didn't make the playoffs, right? And so you've said that a bunch of times in your rant. You're like, this is a good team that makes the playoffs every year, and like, do you really want to throw that away? And so
that is like, that's not a horrible like way to look at business, to be honest with you. No. Like, I mean, it's so dumb because we come on here like after game 3 against Florida, like, or game 4, whatever it was, I was absolutely livid. Like, I was so done with this hockey team. But guess what? It goes away. Yeah. Like, it goes away. And then they go into the offseason. They sign a bunch of players that you think are going to help them potentially get over the hump. But, I mean, I think you can look at the Blue Jays even. Like, that. Talk about a team that kind of made roster decisions in the offseason based on kind of like what happened in their 2-game playoff against Seattle. Like, kind of look at the way it's kind of burning them like right now, you know? Like, they went out and got some more speed, some better defense, some quote unquote better pitching, like things that win you games in the playoffs.
And now they can't
score any runs.
Now they can't cash any base runners.
Yeah, and they were another team that were kind of similar to the Leafs. Like, man, this team can't play defense, they can't pitch, but holy shit, do they have power? Can they score runs? And now it's like they go out and kind of build like a playoff style roster. Now they can't score a goddamn run.
Yep. I'm
so it's like
swept by the Red Sox again.
It's just like I think it would be interesting. The best point I've heard about this, it's like, what if Dubas did stay? Then like what would have happened? Like what if someone been moved at some point? I think the fact that a new guy's come in with a different perspective has kind of just made it kind of like run it back in a way, because he has his own ideas. I don't know how much Shanny's pulling the strings, but like maybe Tree Living's coming in here. He's like, this is a better team than I had in Calgary. Like, why are we blowing this up? Like, maybe I could add this, add that. But us fans are like, I've had enough of watching Mitch Marner act like a complete idiot in the playoffs. So
well, and I also, I'll be honest and fully transparent here. I think the decision to retain Sheldon Keefe is a chicken shit decision. I don't like it at all.
I agree.
I don't like it at all.
I
think it's a chicken shit decision. I don't buy at all into this narrative of, well, he's got bullets in the chamber. It's like, no, he doesn't. Like, you could have brought it. It's him and a coach, and he fires the coach when the times are, there's nobody out there. Claude Julien's out there. He doesn't have a job. Bring him in.
Heady, like how many
look
what
are we doing? Like,
I just think it's
world.
There's no former players.
I just think you've seen enough of how Sheldon Keefe coaches that it's like, especially when you're bringing back the same core players. Yeah. It's like you've seen enough of how this guy operates. Like, this dude went into the second round last year and still didn't have a solidified lineup that he liked. Like, he changed it every night. Like,
he's going to just stroll the dressing room being like, I have a new boss.
Yeah, I know.
I have a new attitude.
Yeah,
and all the core players are going to look at this guy and look at this idiot.
Yeah, I think
you got a new boss.
I think it's a stupid decision.
Yeah.
And I think it's a stupid decision. And I understand that, like, Brad Tree Living, like, that's just sort of like, but I don't believe that the decision, maybe I'm wrong here, and maybe you and I are just drinking too much Tree Living Kool-Aid, but I don't believe that the decision to retain Sheldon Keefe was solely Brad Tree Living's decision. I think it was Brendan Shanahan's decision. I think Brendan Shanahan was like, we'd like to keep this guy. We don't want to fire another coach.
Well, there was the whole, someone brought this up today on the Fan, that like every coach has been like fired in the city of Toronto. Like everyone MLSE, every coach has been fired or something. I don't know. I mean, if you look at it on paper, Sheldon Keefe's been a phenomenal coach, like in the regular season.
He's got a great record.
Yeah, his record, his like points percentage since he's taken over is like tops all time, I feel like. So, I mean, on paper, it really just makes, like, why would you fire him in a way? But it's like, we've seen the way things have gone on here as fans, and it's like, we talked about it the last time we did a podcast. Like, I would like a new voice in that dressing room, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. But like, I know if I was a player and I didn't like that guy, and all of a sudden, like, he had a new boss and he came in and he thought he could like bring in a new attitude, I just look at him and be like, you're a goof, buddy.
I know. I just think you've seen enough of him.
Yeah.
Now to know what he is.
I'm over it.
And yeah, I'm over it too. Yeah. I think it was that's the way I describe it. It's a chicken shit decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am proposing that we start a new segment on next year's podcast where we pick our favorite Blue Jackets soundbite of the week. There he is. Back behind the podium, answering questions.
Oh my god! Just in the most secluded,
I thought
protected market of all time.
I thought it was an unbelievable city with unbelievable fans and a great hockey town.
I miss him.
How do you think?
I miss this guy.
How do you think Patrick Laine is gonna like? How do you think him and Patrick Laine are gonna get along?
You know what? I've missed this guy.
Yeah, well, I don't miss him behind the bench. I miss his outrageous ego.
Yeah, I miss his isms. I miss his Mike Babcock.
I tuned in. I was like, I gotta watch this, and I watched like a few minutes.
The guy's been sitting at home just cashing checks and laughing to the bank, man.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, God, I love that he's back. God, I love this man.
Yeah, and it's random, eh?
It's hilarious.
But it's funny, like you see him up there sitting beside Jarmo Kekalainen, and you're like, okay, I get this. Like, I understand. Like, Jarmo and Babs sat down and were like, Jarmo's the same guy who brought in Torts, and then he didn't even fire Torts. Torts left.
Just think about how long his Leaf contract was, and if he actually like played, like it's like he got fired 10 years ago.
I know.
It is like his term like just came up.
Yeah. They had to wait till July 1st to announce it because they had to wait for his Leaf deal to expire.
Here's what we know about Mike Babcock. If you have rookies in your lineup, don't hire them. Well, if you have a bunch of veterans in your lineup, hire them.
Well, they just drafted Fantilli.
Like that's, well, I mean, like to me, like Fantilli seems like his type of player, to be honest with you, but it's,
well, and you got two guys there who I don't think are gonna who are already like Johnny Gaudreau and Pat Laine are like, are you kidding me? Like we just got rid of Tortorella and now we're bringing in Babcock.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So I'm proposing we start our Blue Jackets soundbite of the week, and we'll play it live and just sit and have a good laugh at Babs.
Yeah, I love Babs.
All right, buddy.
The guy's hilarious.
We've been going almost an hour here. We had a lot to talk and get through. Yeah. So we'll be back whenever, like I said, whenever there's a big trade, whenever one of these guys ends up signing, if they don't end up signing, and it's just counting down until mid-September when we're back full-time, training camp opens.
Oh, here we go again.
And they've done, just when you think you're out,
they've done enough.
They pull you back in.
Me in, baby.
Oh, yeah. All you had to say to me was Tyler Bertuzzi, and I'm all the way back.
What are you going to do, though? Like, boy, like you got to... We're watching it. We got to watch every game anyway, so you got to get yourself fired up. Like, what are we going to do, boycott them? Like,
no, we're not.
Hate those fans. They're like, I gave up on that team 10 years ago.
I know. It's
like, now you got married. You couldn't watch the games anymore.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for checking us out. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below. As I said earlier, throughout the off-season, episodes are less frequent, but as we get into the season, we'll be hammering 2 a week like we did last year.
Oh, yeah.
So...
getting roasted on TikTok all over again.
So spread the word. Tell your friends. We really appreciate it. We will see you guys when we see you.